Every like helps the channel. Thank you. The build-up is immense. This is more than a promotional trailer. It's the overture to a potential career-defining moment in boxing history. In one corner, the reigning, unified, undefeated welterweight champion of the world. In the other, the battle-hardened Mexican superstar who has conquered 4 weight classes and earned every belt the hard way. This is more than a fight. This is a collision course between 2 distinct eras, 2 differing philosophies, and 2 legends who stand at the top of the boxing world for very different reasons. Come September, one of them may see his legacy cracked. Perhaps not destroyed, but unquestionably reshaped. Canelo Alvarez's rise to superstardom is nothing short of epic. From his early days as a red-headed teenage prospect fighting in dusty Mexican arenas to selling out massive stadiums in Las Vegas and Texas, his journey has defined the modern era of boxing. He's faced and beaten names that stretch across the generations: Miguel Cotto, Gennady Golovkin, Daniel Jacobs, Sergey Kovalev, Billy Joe Saunders, and Caleb Plant, among others. Each opponent presented a unique challenge, and each victory pushed Canelo further into the pantheon of all-time greats. Early in his career, Canelo was criticized for cherry-picking fights and avoiding prime opposition. But those accusations faded as he matured, honed his skills, and consistently took on bigger challenges. He fought Floyd Mayweather Jr. when he was still developing, absorbing a loss that proved to be more lesson than defeat. He used it to shape his style into what many came to see as the most efficient and powerful counterpunching form in boxing, became middleweight champion by defeating Miguel Cotto and legitimized it further by edging out Daniel Jacobs. Then came the 2 epic battles with Gennady Golovkin. The first ended in controversy, with many observers believing Golovkin had done enough to win, but the judges scored it a draw. In the rematch, Canelo fought with more aggression and took the narrow decision, showcasing not just skill but adaptability and grit. The third fight, years later, had none of the fire of the first 2. Canelo merely managed it. He didn't try to dominate. It was a sign of change. When he moved up to super middleweight, he made history by unifying all 4 major belts. Victories over Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, and Caleb Plant proved he was more than just a power puncher. He was smart, efficient, and ruthless in breaking down fighters both physically and psychologically. His method was simple: pressure, body shots, and economical combinations. It worked. But as time went on, so did wear and tear. Canelo began showing signs of decline. Against Dmitry Bivol, he dared to reach into the light heavyweight division again. But this time, it backfired. Bivol was too active, too fresh, and too technically disciplined. Canelo fought in bursts, often waiting too long to throw, absorbing punishment, and seemingly running out of ideas. It was his first loss in nearly a decade. Though still competitive, it highlighted a creeping issue. Canelo had slowed down, and his recent fights, his pace has changed. He no longer pressures as relentlessly. Instead, he conserves energy, picking his moments and relying more on his counterpunching instincts. It's pragmatic but less commanding. He's become methodical, sometimes to a fault. Against John Ryder and Jermel Charlo, he won clearly but didn't dominate. It was more a case of managing opponents than dismantling them. The intensity of his prime seemed to flicker in and out, and questions started to mount. Was he fading, or simply adjusting to age and experience? Meanwhile, Terence Crawford has carved his own path, one defined not by superstardom from an early age, but by ruthless, consistent brilliance. An undefeated fighter, Crawford has risen through 3 weight classes and become the first male boxer to unify all 4 major titles at welterweight in the 4-belt era. His accolades include a long list of stoppage victories over elite names: Kell Brook, Amir Khan, Sean Porter, and most emphatically, Errol Spence Jr. That last fight was a coronation. Crawford isn't flashy outside the ring. He's not a crossover star like Canelo. But inside the ropes, he's a phenomenon. A southpaw who can switch stances effortlessly. A master of timing. A reader of opponents. He rarely loses rounds, not because he overwhelms from the first bell, but because he evolves with the fight. He analyzes, adapts, and strikes with precision. By the time opponents realize what's happening, they've already been figured out. Against Errol Spence, a fellow undefeated champion known for his physicality and pressure, Crawford turned in one of the most dominant performances in recent memory. He dropped Spence 3 times, controlled every exchange, and made the fight look one-sided. What was expected to be a 50-50 bout turned into a showcase for Crawford's skills. It was surgical. It was vicious. And it put him atop most pound-for-pound lists, alongside or above Canelo, depending on who you ask. Now, the two paths converge. Canelo, the powerful technician with a wealth of experience, against Crawford, the elusive, cerebral surgeon of the ring. On paper, Canelo holds several advantages. He's naturally bigger. He's absorbed punches from light heavyweights and dished out damage at middleweight and super middleweight. His durability is proven. His power, especially to the body, is punishing. His high guard style, combined with his upper body movement, makes him extremely difficult to hit cleanly. But Crawford is different. He isn't a brawler. He doesn't need to overwhelm physically. His biggest weapon is his mind. His ability to read rhythm, change tempo, and exploit the smallest weakness makes him a nightmare for anyone who relies on timing and control. He can fight southpaw, orthodox, in the pocket, or at range. He mixes offense and defense seamlessly. He breaks down fighters without taking much punishment in return. The question becomes, can he carry all of that to a higher weight class against someone like Canelo? This is Crawford's second venture beyond welterweight, and the physical jump is significant. Even the best technicians can falter when the physics of the fight shift. Size, reach, and punch resistance, those variables matter. Crawford may be brilliant, but will that brilliance still shine when a true super middleweight is in front of him? Canelo will test that theory early. He's not likely to start fast, but he will pressure. He'll go to the body. He'll use his high guard and try to walk Crawford down, wearing him out mentally and physically. If Canelo fights like he did against Caleb Plant and Billy Joe Saunders, sharp, patient, and relentless, he can impose his size and power. But if he comes in looking to just wait and counter, as he did against Bivol, he may find himself outworked and outthought. Crawford won't rush. He'll start cautiously, probing with jabs, shifting stances, and measuring Canelo's reactions. But the moment he sees something, he'll exploit it. And if Canelo stands still or falls into predictable rhythms, Crawford will accumulate points and potentially force the Mexican star into uncomfortable exchanges. The longer the fight goes, the more dangerous Crawford becomes. His pace increases. His accuracy improves. And his finishing instincts are elite. But make no mistake, he cannot afford to get caught clean repeatedly. Canelo's power is real. Even in decline, he can end a fight with one hook to the body or head. Crawford may be more versatile, but he's never faced someone this heavy, this seasoned, or this dangerous. Every round will be a chess match. Every mistake will carry more weight than usual. There's also the question of legacy. For Canelo, a win silences the doubters. It proves he's not past his prime, that his methodical style is still effective, and that he remains the face of boxing. A loss, however, would reinforce the narrative that he's fading. That his days at the top are numbered. That he's no longer the fighter who unified divisions and dominated champions. For Crawford, the stakes are even higher. He's already a 3-weight world champion and undisputed at welterweight. But a win over Canelo, especially at super middleweight, would launch him into a different orbit. It would be historic. It would solidify his status as an all-time great and perhaps the most skilled fighter of his era. But a loss, especially a decisive one, would raise questions about whether he reached too far. Whether brilliance in lower divisions can truly translate to power divisions like 168 pounds. Both fighters understand this. That's why this fight is so compelling. It's not just a matchup of skills, but of timing and circumstance. Canelo is older, more experienced, and potentially more worn. Crawford is fresher, sharper, and still improving. But with that freshness comes risk, moving up, challenging a bigger man, stepping into the unknown. The build-up will be intense. The promotion will focus on legacy, culture, style, and pride. Mexico versus America. Power versus precision. Counterpuncher versus chameleon. The atmosphere will be electric. Fans will debate endlessly. Analysts will break down every past performance, every flaw, and every strength. But when the bell rings, it comes down to two men. No hype, no noise, just 12 rounds to define a career. September 2025 may not just give us a great fight, it may mark the end of an era. Either Canelo reasserts himself as the king of the ring, or Crawford rises as the new monarch, conquering yet another division and cementing his place in boxing immortality. This is not just a fight between champions. This is the kind of bout that shifts the landscape of the sport. One fighter may leave with his legacy intact. The other may leave with questions that never quite go away. When that final bell sounds, history will have been made. Whether it ends in a dramatic knockout or a razor-thin decision, the implications will ripple far beyond the ring. And all the fans watching, from sold-out arenas to living rooms across the globe, will know they witnessed something rare. Greatness meeting greatness at the perfect time.